Donald Trump is giving Putin a couple more weeks to arrange a meeting with Zelensky and wants to understand whose fault it is that this meeting is not taking place. And then he will decide what to do, whether to impose sanctions against Russia or not. And by the way, he boasted about a photograph that Putin sent him as a gift. In fact, TSN's correspondent in the USA, Olga Koshelenko, will tell us more.
During a significant event dedicated to organizing the upcoming World Cup, which will indeed take place in the United States, Canada and Mexico next year, Donald Trump, wearing a distinctive red baseball cap with the inscription "Trump was right about everything," proudly boasted about a particular photograph that Russian President Vladimir Putin had sent him. The American leader subsequently said he plans to send it back to Putin with his own personal autograph. The photograph captures the moment of their meeting in Alaska. Trump noted that he himself looked good in the photo, while Putin looked great, and suggested that Putin would very much like to come to America for the World Cup, but whether he will come or not will become clear in a few weeks. Just this Monday, Putin allegedly promised Trump that he would meet with the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. "Putin always treats me with great respect, but not others," Trump often reflects and frequently states. In response to the question of what would happen if the meeting between Zelensky and Putin does not take place, he said he wants to find out whose fault it is, and if there are reasons, he will understand. He reiterated that there is too much hatred between the warring sides and compared Zelensky and Putin to oil and vinegar, which do not mix well together. He added that many people tell him that without his, Trump's, involvement, nothing will come of the conversation between Zelensky and Putin, so he will consider whether to be present, and for now, he is thinking about how to respond. For example, whether to impose sanctions against Russia.
"If there are reasons, I will understand. I know exactly what I'm doing. We'll see if they hold a meeting. I told them to have a meeting. This will be a very important decision, and it will either be large-scale sanctions, large-scale tariffs, or we will do nothing and say, 'This is your war.'"
Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, in an interview with the American television program Meet the Press on NBC, left absolutely no doubt. Putin does not genuinely want to meet with Zelensky, but is instead trying to blame the Ukrainian side for this. He specifically mentioned the decree that currently prevents the president of Ukraine from negotiating with the Russians, and was openly irritated by the host's persistent efforts in trying to get him to admit that a meeting is not being planned. In the end, Lavrov reluctantly admitted that supposedly there is no agenda for presidential talks.
President Putin has clearly stated that he is ready for a meeting provided that this meeting actually has a clear agenda, specifically a presidential agenda.
So that's a very big if, Mr. Foreign Minister. No meeting is currently planned, correct? That's a big if indeed. You are saying that no meeting is planned at this very moment. Kristen, I am very sorry that you are not listening to me. No meeting is planned, and they are not denying that fact. But you simply can't. It seems you cannot understand what I am saying. Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky when the agenda for the summit is fully prepared. And that agenda is not ready at all.
So what exactly is meant by the agenda? Reuters reported this, citing sources. Lavrov himself does not hide this in general terms either. Putin is only willing to go for negotiations about the country's capitulation. When Donbass is handed over to him without a fight, Ukraine's right to join alliances is restricted, and the non-expansion of NATO to the east is legally enshrined. And as a bonus, the rights of Russian speakers. Volodymyr Zelensky stated that he is ready for negotiations with Putin without any preconditions. And at these negotiations, he will discuss everything with him, including territorial issues. But according to him, Russia does not want peace and is doing everything to prevent the meeting from taking place.
The Russians are now actively trying to do whatever they possibly can to avoid meeting. The issue is not just about the meeting. The issue is that they do not want to end the war, and since they don't want to end it, they will look for ways to keep it going. And it is necessary to reduce these opportunities. The unity of America and Europe reduces these opportunities, the space for war.
President Donald Trump also commented on the recent Russian strike on an American enterprise located in Mukachevo, Zakarpattia. Interestingly, there was no harsh criticism expressed. "Nothing related to this ongoing war truly makes me happy," Trump ultimately concluded. From Washington, United States, Olga Koshelenko, Maxim Shinkarenko, TSN 1+1.
Keith Kellogg will arrive in Ukraine for a 2-day visit. The visit of the U.S. President's special representative will coincide with Ukraine's Independence Day and will last until August 25th. It was previously reported by Reuters journalist Graham Slattery that Kellogg is planning to visit Ukraine. It is known that the official's agenda includes participating in Independence Day celebrations, a prayer breakfast, and meetings with the Ukrainian leadership. And this will be the second visit of Trump's special representative to Ukraine this summer. The general had already visited the Ukrainian capital on July 14th.
Ukraine's allies are negotiating two levels of security guarantees. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte announced this during his visit to Kyiv. The official also met with Volodymyr Zelensky at a joint press conference. Both spoke about the security guarantees being prepared for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. The president of Ukraine, for his part, stated that he does not yet see any indication that Russia wants to end the war. On the contrary, it is doing everything to prevent Trump from imposing sanctions. According to Zelenskyy, Kyiv, unlike Moscow, is ready for any meetings without any preconditions, whether in a bilateral or trilateral format. Zelensky also spoke about security guarantees, noting that the F-16 aircraft currently available in Ukraine are not enough to protect our skies. Additionally, according to the politician, Turkey had previously expressed its readiness to guarantee security in the Black Sea.
We can clearly see now that the Russians are doing absolutely everything to prevent this important meeting from taking place. Unlike Russia, Ukraine is certainly not afraid of any meetings with leaders. We are fully ready to work as productively as humanly possible. We sincerely hope that our international partners will help ensure at least a minimally productive and constructive position from the Russian side.
The first stage should come after a peace agreement or a long-term ceasefire or a combination of both. The first stage is to ensure that the armed forces of Ukraine are as strong as possible to defend this proud country and nation in the future. And the second stage is security guarantees provided by Europe and the United States. As we all know, the Budapest Memorandum and the Minsk agreements did not provide those security guarantees. So we clearly understand what it should not be. And now we are working together, Ukraine, the Europeans, and the United States, so that the security guarantees are at such a level that Vladimir Putin, sitting in Moscow, would never again dare to attack Ukraine.
Belarusian military personnel are being urged not to approach the Ukrainian border. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine has issued these warnings. In September, joint exercises with Russia will begin on the territory of Belarus. Ukrainian diplomats reminded that in 2022, the Republic of Belarus became an accomplice in the crime of Russia's military aggression against Ukraine by providing the aggressor with its own territory and airspace for the unprovoked invasion of our country. The diplomatic service emphasized that Ukraine does not pose a threat to the Belarusian people, but advises against approaching the shared border in order not to provoke the armed forces of Ukraine. This year, trains carrying Russian equipment began arriving in Belarus several weeks ago. However, for now, the situation is not considered threatening for Ukraine according to the State Border Guard Service, just punishment. In the temporarily occupied settlement of Kalinove in Luhansk region, an explosion occurred that eliminated 3 Russian soldiers responsible for war crimes in Bucha. This was reported by the press service of the main intelligence directorate. According to the agency, the detonation occurred in the yard of one of the local houses, where 6 occupiers and enemy military vehicles were present. 3 Russians died instantly at the scene, and 2 more individuals sustained serious injuries. Well, don't forget to comment on this video and be sure to give it a like, even though, given some of the news, that might be hard to do. But it's very important for us so that the video gets recommended and as many people as possible see this news. We continue with the TSN broadcast.